Initially, there was a vague aching pain around the umbilicus, but once it involves the parietal peritoneum, then pain will be localized at the site where the appendix is. Today's topic is evaluation of acute abdomen. How should we evaluate the acute abdomen? Patients presenting with acute abdomen. Before embarking to approach to the patient, I will like to tell you about certain theoretical aspect regarding abdomen. So, abdomen uh, is divided into certain regions. There are 9 regions. There are 2 vertical line, this, and there are 2 horizontal line, this, which divides abdomen into the 9 regions. So the this line is goes from mid clavicular to the mid inguinal point. So from midpoint of the clavicle to the mid inguinal point, we just draw a line on both the sides, and this is actually not a line; it's a plane. This is known as transpyloric plane. So it is roughly between the umbilicus and the xiphi sternum, and this plane is known as transtubercular plane. It is around 5 centimeter behind the ASIS, and it is actually highest point on the iliac crest. So both tubercles are joined. So both tubercles are joined here. Say ASIS 5 centimeter go behind, ASIS here 5 centimeter go behind on the highest point on the iliac crest, and then join this plane. This is known as transtubercular line. This is known as transtubercular because it goes from iliac tubercle, and these are not lines, these are planes. So this is a plane, and this one is transpyloric plane. Why transpyloric? Because pylorus lies on this plane. So then we have divided certain region based on this. This region is known as epigastrium. This region is known as right hypogastrium. This chondrium, this region is known as left hypochondrium. While this region, which contains the umbilicus, this region is known as umbilical region. This is known as right lumbar region. This region is known as left lumbar region. White, this is known as hypogastrium. Below the region below the umbilical region is known as hypogastrium. And why this is known as right iliac fossa, and this one is known as left iliac fossa. So there are structures which commonly occupy a particular region. So if you have pain at a particular region, you should think of organ which are lying beneath. So like in right hypochondrium, you should think of gallbladder pain. While in epigastrium, you should think of stomach, duodenum, or even acute pancreatitis pain. Or even pancreas pain can be seen on the left side also. On the right lumbar region, you will find that the right kidney is occupying that area, and the umbilical region is occupied by small bowel or some part of the cecum or even the retroperitoneal structures, and the left flank or left lumbar region is occupied by the left kidney, while appendix and cecum occupies the right iliac fossa. If there is a pain in the right iliac fossa, you should think of a pathology of appendix and cecum. While if there is a problem into the hypogastrium, so pelvic organs like bladder, uterus, or adnexa. In females, uterus and adnexa. In males and both sexes, bladder or transverse colon pathology may be lying there. In left iliac fossa, sigmoid colon pathology may be lying there. So there are there are 4 quadrants. So there is a midline, and there is a horizontal midline. So it divides into 4 quadrants: right upper quadrant, left upper quadrant, right lower quadrant, and left lower quadrant. So there are 9 regions of the abdomen, and there are 4 quadrants of the abdomen. There are 4 quadrants of the abdomen. So now coming to history of pain. What is pain? Actually, the patient feels the pain, but the tenderness is elicited by the doctor only. So why there is pain in abdomen? So as you know, abdomen is occupied by different visceras, like you see here, and they have some kind of visceral supply also. They have some kind of pain fibers, the supply from the visceral nervous system. So from thoracolumbar outflow, you will see that the thoracic nerves and the lumbar nerves, they supply the pain fibers to these viscera. So this is known as visceral innervation. And there is somatic, the somatome during embryonic development, when it becomes the part of the body wall, it derives the neuronal supply from the respective dermatome. So this T10, the umbilical region, is supplied by T10. Therefore this whole thing is known as dermatome. All this thing will be supplied by T10 only. And because the visceral pain is only either due to distension or ischemia, the visceral pain is very vague. Visceral pain is very vague and it is poorly localized. Once the inflammation go, like say for appendix, so it is supplied by T10. So once there is a pathology in the appendix, it will dilate first and involve the viscera. So it will cause visceral pain, which is vague and poorly localized. Visceral pain is vague and poorly localized. While if there is involvement of parietal peritoneum, then that is known as somatic pain. Somatic pain, which is severe and sharply localized. So as I already mentioned, there are two peritoneum: the visceral peritoneum, which occupies the viscera itself, and there is a parietal peritoneum. So if suppose this organ is inflamed or getting distended, so firstly the pain will be visceral pain because of the stretching or ischemia of the visceral peritoneum, of this peritoneum. The distension or the organ pathology becomes much prominent, then it involves the parietal peritoneum, then visceral pain will convert into the somatic pain. So there are some smaller viscera in which visceral pain is able to convert into somatic pain, but some of the viscera which are deeply inside, they do not affect the parietal peritoneum and they always remain visceral pain. So you must remember, visceral pain is vague and poorly localized, while somatic pain is very sharp and very painful and it is properly localized. So one should inquire about the original site of the pain. What was the site of the pain? And then time and mood of the onset. Like say in abdomen, you should ask the patient to point out the reason, whether it was in the epigastrium or in right hypochondrium, left hypochondrium. The original site of the pain should be pointed out by the patient's one finger. And then you should note the time of onset and mood of onset. What was the time when the pain appeared and whether it was acute or chronic onset. So in acute abdomen, the onset will always be acute onset. So that is the definition of the acute abdomen. Sudden acute pain is acute abdomen. So then you should inquire about the severity of the pain, how severe the pain is. The severity is that how severe the pain is, like whether it is very mild or it is very severe in nature. But you must have noticed that individual reacts differently to pains, and what is severe to one person, it may be described as dull aching by another person. So you must objectify it whether the pain is actually severe enough or not. There may be some females which appears very fragile. They will say that even on touching uh, on abdomen, they will say that I am having too much of pain, and they will say that the severity is at least 10 by 10. But there may be some athletic muscular built laborer who will even say a severe pain to be a mild pain. So individual reacts differently to pain. To objectify, you should ask about the patient life, how pain is affecting the patient's life. Like, did it stop the patient for going to work? Did it make the patient to go to bed? Did they try proprietary analgesic? पेन इतना ज़्यादा है कि एनाल्जेसिक लेना पड़ रहा है. Did they have to call their doctor, or did they have to visit their doctor for pain? Or did it wake up in the night or stop them from going to sleep? Or was the pain better lying still, or did it make the patient rolling around? So these are the things in which how you assess the severity of pain. There is a scoring system which is known as visual analog score. So from a happy, there are many faces on that scoring system, from a happy face to a very sad looking face. So from 0 to 10 it varies. So this is known as visual analog score. So you can do scoring also ki on scale of 0 to 10. So there are multiple figures in between. What kind of pain you are actually in, so that it is objectified. So then you should inquire the nature and the character of pain, how the character of the pain is, and what kind of uh, pain patient is feeling. So it may be vague aching. Patient will not be able to actually properly characterize the pain, and or it may be burning in nature. Patient will feel burning, like burning per urethra or burning sensation over the chest in GERD, or it may be throbbing in nature in inflammatory pathology, like say some abscess. Patient will feel that the patient is throbbing in nature, or even scalding in nature. It is somewhat similar to burning uh, in nature. So scalding basically will be seen in urinary tract infection when there will be burning per micturition. Or patient may describe pain as a pins and needle sensation, like in neuropathic pain. When there is peripheral neuropathy, patient will describe it as in form of pins and निडल सेंसेशन. कई बार पेशेंट अपनी भाषा में बोलता है कि सुई सी चुभ रही है, चीटियां जैसी चल रही हैं. सो अगर पेशेंट ऐसे बोले कि सुई सी चुभ रही है, चीटियां जैसी चल रही है, देन यू शुड बी थिंकिंग ऑन द लाइंस ऑफ न्यूरोपैथिक पेन. Or it may be a shooting pain. In some pathology like sciatica, there is shooting along the nerve. तो जैसे इलेक्ट्रिकल करंट जैसा सेंसेशन होता है ड्यू टू स्टिमुलेशन ऑफ द सियाटिक नर्व, देयर विल बी a shooting pain along the lower limb. Patient will feel pain arising from here and it will shoot along the limb. Sharp sudden pain as if electricity has passed down the lower limb. So this is known as shooting pain, which is seen in sciatica. Or it may be stabbing pain, which is seen in acute pancreatitis. If there is sudden short-lived pain, so patient will perceive as if someone has stabbed him. Like there is in acute pancreatitis, there is a pain which radiates to the back, and patient feels as if someone has stabbed him. So that is known as stabbing pain, sudden short-lived pain. So this is again the sudden severe and short-lived pain is actually the stabbing pain. Now it may be of constricting in nature. So character of the pain is very important. One of the most important feature of the pain is character of the pain. So if you are able to demonstrate the character of the pain, you may be able to come to a diagnosis. You may be able to come to a diagnosis. So one of the most important things in pain is character of the pain. So there may be constricting pain. So the pain will occur to area, and patient will feel that it is constricting the relevant part. जैसे कि sometimes even in angina, patient will not say that I am having pain. Patient will say मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि सीने में जकड़न है. Patient will say I am having constricting feel over the chest. They may not even say that I am having pain in the chest. They will say that I am having constricting type of feel in the chest, which is seen in angina pectoris. Or one of the most important characteristic of pain is colicky pain. So colicky pain is due to when the muscular tube is obstructed by some kind of thing, some kind of foreign body, like say stone or some obstructing pathology. Then what muscular tube tries is to increase the peristalsis to get rid of the obstruction. So there is muscles keep on contracting, but there is reduction of ATP after some time, and there is reaccumulation of ATP for some time, and then again the muscle is trying to relieve the obstruction. So in this process, the pain which occurs is known as colicky pain. It has two features. It comes in goes in sinusoidal way. It will come and go in a sinusoidal way like this. Pain will increase and decrease, and that is due to muscle fatigue in between. And it will feel like migratory construction on wall of the hollow tube, which is attempting to force the content of the tube forwards. The body will try to relieve of the obstruction or try to move it forwards. Like in uretary colic, the ureter will contract and it will try to relieve this kind of obstruction, and there will be pain in sinusoidal way. It will come and go in a sinusoidal way. And one of the important feature is patient will have gripping in nature. The pain will have gripping in nature. patient will feel like it is जो मरोड़ मार के सेंसेशन बोलते हैं हिंदी में कि मरोड़ जैसा हो रहा है, ऐठन जैसा हो रहा है. So that is known as gripping in nature. So the pain will come and go in sinusoidal way and it will have a gripping in nature. But a recurrent intermittent pain is not necessarily a colic because it must also have gripping in nature. Like recurrent intermittent pain is gall stone की वजह से जो पेन होता है that is also intermittent in nature. और अल्सर की वजह से जो पेन होता है गैस्ट्रिक अल्सर की वजह से दैट इज ऑल्सो इंटरमिटेंट इन रिकरेंट इन नेचर बट दे आर नॉट नेसेसरी कोलिक. गॉल बैडर कोलिक इज अ मिजनोमर, बिलियरी कोलिक इज अ मिजनोमर because the gallbladder wall does not have a proper muscular layer, but once it goes into the CBD, like say there is a stone here, so because there is no true muscular layer, there is a fibromuscular layer, so pain will occur but it will not be a true colicky nature. But once it goes into the CBD or even passes the duodenum and causing duodenal obstruction, because this wall has a true muscular layer, then the pain will become colicky in nature. So for pain to become a colic, the wall should have a true muscular layer. Like in ureter, there is a true muscular layer. But a gallbladder wall has a fibromuscular layer, not a true muscular layer. So another thing, pain is twisting in nature. So patient will feel that the body part is being twisted. Or patient will say that I am feeling just a pain, I am not able to characterize it. So you will say it either vague aching pain or just a pain. So as you see, this diagram is showing the character of pain. It may be colicky in nature. So biliary colic is a misnomer. The true colic is uretery colic or small bowel colic or small bowel obstruction. So it is crampy or intermittent pain and has a gripping in nature. So small bowel obstruction and ureteric colic has gripping in nature and it comes and goes in sinusoidal way. So this is example of sudden severe pain. So perforated ulcer, patient will have some kind of vague aching pain and then patient will, once the perforation occurs, then patient will have sudden severe pain. Like also in ruptured aortic aneurysm, there will be sudden severe pain. There may be sudden severe pain in ureteric colic also. So character of the pain is important. You should sit with the patient after giving the pain relief to the patient. You should sit with the patient and ask him about the details of the character. If you do not sit with the patient and elicit the history properly, then you're not a good surgeon, you're not a good clinician. So directly going for investigation is not a good thing. There is a book by Zachary Copes about acute abdomen. He writes that the history and examination should be considered more sensitive and more specific than imagings. So I agree with Zachary Copes wholeheartedly because the history taking in an examination is an art. In present era where ultrasound abdomen, CT abdomen, X-ray chest is readily available, we are forgetting the true art of history taking and examination. But we should not forget it. We should consider history taking and examination our skill as a superior to imaging technique. So this is example of gradual progressive pain like seen in cholecystitis or hepatitis or even sometimes pancreatitis. There will be gradual progressive pain or even in appendicitis. So I will explain you about the migration, radiation and referral of pain, why there is referral of pain. As I already told you, so you know that the visceral peritoneum covers the viscera and say there is some pathology like appendiculolith in the appendix and it is dilating. So due to persistent dilatation, it will irritate the visceral peritoneum and cause vague aching pain. So you know that it will be referred to its respective dermatome. So appendix is supplied by T10 and T10 dermatome on the abdomen is around the umbilical. So patient will have vague aching pain anywhere around this dermatome, anywhere around this dermatome. So what happens is that once the disease pathology keep on increasing and inflammation keep on increasing, it also involves the peritoneum, the parietal peritoneum. So it will also involve the parietal peritoneum. So initially initially there was a vague aching pain around the umbilicus, but once it involves the parietal peritoneum, then pain will be localized at the site where the appendix is, and the body will forget about this vague aching pain, and the patient pain will shift towards the right iliac fossa. That is why there is shifting of pain in acute appendicitis. Because of the character change from visceral to parietal peritoneum, because of involvement of visceral peritoneum to parietal peritoneum. Visceral peritoneum will have vague sensation around the dermatome which is supplying that particular organ, like T10 for appendix. So once the pain, the inflammation becomes much more, then it will localize to the organ where it is residing. Like in appendicitis, it will go towards the right iliac fossa. So there is shifting of pain. So the pain will disappear from the original site of pathology. Body will not perceive the pain at the original site of the pathology. So there is a radiation of pain. Pain will occur when there is extension of pain to another site, whilst the initial pain persists. Like in acute pancreatitis, there is pain in epigastrium, it persists, and then the pain goes towards the back. So original site of the pain will always be there, but there will be some pain on the, say this is AP view of the, so there will be epigastric pain, and it will refer to the back also, and both will be present. So that is known as radiation of the pain. Like in chest pain, you must have known that the pain in chest remains and it radiates to the arm. So both sides there is pain. While in refer pain, the pain is felt at some site else. Subdiaphragmatic abscess, it is felt at the tip of the cervical roots, which is of phrenic nerve C3, C4, C5, which corresponds to the dermatome on the shoulder. So in referred pain, refer मतलब जैसे डॉक्टर ने रेफर कर दिया तो उस जगह पे पेशेंट नहीं रहेगा, पेशेंट हैज गॉन टू द दूसरी जगह. सो ऐसे भी सब डायफ्रैग्मेटिक एब्सेस ने पेन को रेफर कर दिया. पेन विल नॉट रिमेन एट द साइट ऑफ ओरिजिनल पैथोलॉजी, इट विल बी फेल्ट एट द distant pathology from its source. Like in diaphragmatic abscess, because of the C3, C4, C5 nerve root, it is usually felt at the tip of the shoulder rather than at the site of original pathology. So this is known as referred pain. So referred pain is caused by inability of the central nervous system to distinguish between the visceral and somatic sensory impulses, and it will perceive the somatic sensory impulses as a primary source. अगर कोई वेग हल्का सा पेन हो रहा है and there is a sharp somatic pain, then body will try to perceive the sharp somatic pain also, and that is why there is a shifting of pain in acute appendicitis, because it gets converted from visceral pain to parietal pain. So this is again the example of the referred pain. The cholecystitis pain is referred to inferior angle of the scapula, while subdiaphragmatic abscess goes to the tip of the shoulder, and pancreatitis pain radiates to the back, and there is a shifting of pain in acute appendicitis. Firstly, there is a vague pain in the periumbilical region because of the T10 dermatome, and then once it inflames, it irritates the parietal peritoneum present there, then it is shifted to the right iliac fossa. And sometimes in perforated ulcer, due to trickling of the fluid in the right iliac fossa, it is seen that the pain is less severe here, but it refers to the flank, in right flank or in right iliac fossa. Similarly, the pyelonephritic or renal or ureteric colic may be referred to the scrotal region. So the typical kidney stone pain is said to have a loin to groin radiation. Patient will say that I am having pain in the loin, but I am also feeling pain in the groin region, especially when it is ureteric colic. The pain will be referred to the groin region. Patient will say that I am having pain in the flank, which is going in the groin region also. So you must elicit this movement of the pain, then only you can be going towards a particular diagnosis. अगर आपको फ्लैंक पेन ऐसे बस उस पर आपने पेन किलर वगैरह दे दिया and you have not elicited this radiation, then you will not be aware what kind of pain patient is having. So you must elicit the history of pain in a proper manner. And there are sometimes there are special time of occurrences in some pain, like a duodenal ulcer pain usually occurs when patient is not having any meal. So early in the morning when you are not having any meal, the patient will feel pain, or even during night sometime it wakes up the patient. And there is periodicity of pain in some pains. Typically duodenal ulcer, you will have history in the patient is that patient is having some kind of pain in the epigastrium and burning sensation over the chest, and then you will see that it gets relieved for 2-3 months, and then again after 2-3 months the patient is starting having pain. So this typical periodicity of pain is seen in duodenal ulcer. And you must also inquire about the precipitating and aggravating factors, like in a gastric ulcer the meal aggravates the pain, while in duodenal ulcer the meal will relieve the pain. So you must inquire what is aggravating or relieving the pain. And you must inquire about the associated symptoms like sweating, vomiting, cold extremity, any aura, fever or hematuria, jaundice is present or not. So this is a mnemonic for assessment of pain, for history taking of pain. Socrates, the Greek philosopher, so the acronym is made on his name. So S stands for site, so where exactly the pain is. O is onset, mood of onset and time of onset. What were the patient was doing when the pain started? So what was the mood of onset, and what is the site of onset, and what was the time when the pain started? And then the character of the pain. So I have already told about what does the pain feel like. And radiation of pain means movement of pain, any movement of the pain, radiation, referral or shifting of pain. Does the pain go anywhere else? And A for associated system, like nausea, vomiting and jaundice is present or not. And T for time duration, how long they had the pain. And E for exacerbating or relieving factor, aggravating and relieving factor, that does anything makes the pain better or worse, like meal increases the pain in gastric ulcer while it reduces the pain in duodenal ulcer. And you must inquire about the severity of the pain, and you must objectify it rather than uh, relying on individuals sensitivity towards the pain. So now coming to actual approach to the patient. Firstly, must resuscitate a patient who is coming to the emergency with the pain. Patient may be hemodynamically unstable and toxic. Then your second aim is pain relief, analgesia. Then only once the patient is comfortable enough, then you should inquire about the history of the pain. And then you should be asking about, you should be going for general physical examination, which I have already taken the class, and then examination of abdomen in inspection, palpation, auscultation and percussion manner. Once you do all these things, then you should make a list of differential diagnosis. Based on this history, what are the differential diagnoses? So making a diagnosis is an art. It's like investigating a crime scene. So what does a crime scene investigator does? He says that everyone is suspect who is present at the crime scene. So say suppose a right hypochondriac pain, everyone is suspect. Gallbladder, liver, hepatic flexure, everyone is suspect until proven otherwise. You have to make differential diagnosis like you are investigating a crime scene. So you will make differential diagnosis of that respective region. So whatever is present, and based on some feature you will make a list of differential diagnosis, and you will keep on removing them by asking them question, by taking a good history. So the final differential diagnosis should contain 3 or 4 principal differential diagnosis. So in history, what you should do is you should identify the reason for consultation, why the patient has come to the hospital, that is presenting complaint. Then determine the onset, duration and evolution of the symptoms and deduce the most likely organ or system affected. So इसके पहले यहाँ पे presenting complaint में you will say that everyone is suspect. Gallbladder, liver, hepatic flexure, everyone is suspect. Then you have asked the duration and evaluation of symptom and associated symptom. Then you will say that I have picked up the most likely organ. So most likely organ मतलब अगर कोई हस्बैंड वाइफ का झगड़ा हो रहा है एंड वाइफ का मर्डर हो गया, सो मोस्ट लाइकली सस्पेक्ट कौन होता है? सो ऐसे ही हमारे हिस्ट्री एंड एग्जामिनेशन टेकिंग में यू हैव विल हैव टू पिक द मोस्ट लाइकली ऑर्गन बेस्ड ऑन योर suspicion arising from the history as well as the, like say the patient is saying that I also had jaundice for this period of time and I also had body ache and some constitutional symptom, then you should think that patient maybe have a hepatic jaundice and this present pain may have a pain of hepatitis rather than thinking of a pain arising from, say suppose any organ like hepatic flexure. But if the patient is giving history that I am having bowel disturbances, I am having recurrent diarrhea and all these things, then you should suspect that likely organ may be a hepatic flexure of the colon rather than a liver. Then you should refine the history with relevant direct question. से सपोज अगर आपको जॉन्डिस भी एसोसिएटेड मिल रहा है एंड यू आर नॉट श्योर दैट वेदर इट इज इंटरमिटेंट जॉन्डिस, वेदर इट इज हेपेटिक, प्री हेपेटिक जॉन्डिस और ऑब्स्ट्रक्टिव जॉन्डिस which will be seen in pathology of the gallbladder or even biliary tree, then you should ask the direct question. Like अगर obstructive jaundice में हो रहे हैं तो हाई कलर्ड यूरिन आप पूछोगे कि पेशेंट इज हैविंग हाई कलर्ड यूरिन और नॉट, और पेशेंट इज हैविंग इचिंग ऑल ओवर द बॉडी और नॉट. In hepatic jaundice you will ask about the constitutional symptom. So based on your history you should refine the history with relevant direct question, and then you should establish relevant past social, medical and drug allergy history which you do in any case, and then you should complete with a thorough review of other system, that is systemic examination, and in also in history all, and then you'll make a list of differential diagnosis. Everyone is suspect until proven otherwise. So then once you have made a list of differential diagnosis, then you will go for some investigation like blood investigation, radiological investigation and other special investigation. And once you find something in the radiology, like here in this picture you are seeing a gas under diaphragm which is implying a perforation peritonitis, then you will make a diagnosis based on that, a perforation peritonitis, and then you will manage based on that particular diagnosis. So I will be actually acute abdomen is very vast topic. There are books written on acute abdomen only, but I will be covering few details of certain acute abdominal pathology like acute appendicitis. What kind of pain you will have in acute appendicitis? कैसा pain होगा acute appendicitis में? You'll have a vague aching pain which will be shifted to the right iliac fossa. So migratory pain which will be shifting to the right iliac fossa, a migratory pain, and also there will be anorexia or there may be a fever, and these are the symptoms. So once you palpate this region, once you go for abdominal examination and you palpate the right iliac fossa, you will find that there is tenderness in that region. So you may find right iliac fossa tenderness. So there are certain other signs which are elicited in acute appendicitis because of the, you must have known that the tip of the appendix varies. The location of appendix is varying among general population. Sometimes it is pre-ileal, sometime it is post-ileal, sometime it is pelvic in location, sometime it is retrocecal. So based on the location of the tip of the appendix, based on the location of the tip of appendix, there are certain tests so which will help in diagnosing the acute appendicitis. So you'll have a tenderness in right iliac fossa. So what happens is if you press the left iliac fossa like this, then also you will have pain in right iliac fossa. This sign is known as Rovsing sign. This sign is known as Rovsing sign. Even if you cuff, then you will have pain here. So on cuffing, that is known as Dunphy's sign. If you cuff and there is a pain in right iliac fossa, you will have pain here. Then that sign is known as Dunphy's sign. What sometimes happen is that the appendix lie in a retrocecal manner and it irritates the iliopsoas. It is retrocecal in nature and irritates the iliopsoas. Hip में क्या action होता है iliopsoas का? and sometimes it also irritates the obturator internus. So if the iliopsoas will be irritated, there will be flexion at the hip joint. The hip joint will be flexed. But if you passively stretch the hip joint, if you do a passive stretching of the hip joint, then there will be stretching of these fiber, then there will be pain. So this sign is a Coupe-Psoas sign. Similarly, due to irritation of the obturator internus, if you do the internal rotation of the thigh, then patient will have pain. That is known as Coupe obturator sign. That is known as Coupe obturator sign. Sometimes due to appendix being pelvic in nature, there is diarrhea because of the pelvic inflammation, and in digital rectal examination you may elicit a tenderness. So this is a eliciting of which sign? So this is left iliac fossa and the patient is having pain in right iliac fossa, then this will be Rovsing sign. So this is externally rotating the limb. This will be which sign? And what sign this will be? If you doing action against the obturator internus, then on external rotation of the hip, what will you feel? So this is Coupe obturator sign. This one will be Coupe-Psoas sign. So now coming to perforation peritonitis, what happens in perforation peritonitis, like says duodenal ulcer? So duodenum perforates and it releases all its acid into the peritoneal cavity, which irritates the peritoneum. So patient will have severe pain abdomen, and patient will try to lie still because it will irritate the peritoneum. The somatic inflammation will have, patient will have severe pain abdomen, and once you palpate the abdomen, patient will have tenderness and rebound tenderness and board like rigidity. Board like rigidity क्यों हो जाती है? क्योंकि body wall की जो muscle है, they try to protect the viscera inside. So there will be board like rigidity of the abdominal wall so that the body viscera is protected. So there will be severe abdominal pain and patient will not like to move around. Patient will lay still, and once you palpate the abdomen, there will be tenderness and rebound tenderness and board like rigidity. And on auscultation, bowel sounds will be absent because in perforation peritonitis there is ileus of the bowel and there will be no sound. So these kind of feature you will get a perforation peritonitis. This again is a separate entity to discuss. While in acute cholecystitis, there is a pain in right iliac fossa. So there is a particular sign in acute cholecystitis which is known as Murphy's sign. You will have tenderness here. I will explain what is Murphy's sign. So let's discuss anatomy of the liver as well as the gallbladder. So gallbladder, as you know, occupies the lower surface of the liver, and this is connected with the diaphragm. The liver is, so diaphragm will move with the respiration. So does the liver, and it will also move the gallbladder. So if you keep an examining hand on the inflamed gallbladder, if you keep an examining hand on the inflamed gallbladder and you ask the patient to inspire and expire. So inspiration means the gallbladder as well as the liver will come down and will strike your hand, and patient will have severe pain. So body will do what? Body will try to protect it and body will cause catch in the breath. So Murphy's sign says that while in acute cholecystitis, if you are palpating in the right hypochondrium region and you ask the patient to take a deep breath, the patient will wince with the pain and there will be catch in the breath. So patient will, and if this sign is elicited on the probe with the sonography, that is ultrasound, then it is known as sonographic Murphy's sign. In acute appendicitis, you know what is that tenderness point is? That is McBurney's point, which is from 2/3 from it is on spilo-umbilical line, the line which connects the umbilicus to the ASIS, and 2/3 medially and 1/3 laterally. So that point is known as McBurney's point. So in acute appendicitis, that tenderness is usually at the McBurney's point. So what will happen in acute pancreatitis? That there is inflammation of the pancreas. There will be inflammation of the pancreas, and since it is a pancreatitis is rupture of the pancreatic acini, So the fluid will trickle into the retroperitoneal region. Actually, the pancreas is also retroperitoneal, and it will refer to the back. So it will have in epigastrium region, and it will refer to the back. So sudden pain, sudden epigastric pain, which is referring to the back, is suggestive of acute pancreatitis. And there is a particular phenomena seen in pancreatitis, that patient, because of the retroperitoneal nature of the pancreas, patient will try to tilt forwards so that the pancreas fall forwards and there is less peritoneum on the retroperitoneum. So patient will say, once I tilt forward, there is relief of the pain. So pain epigastrium, which radiates to the back and which is stabbing in nature, and patient which is relieved on stooping forwards, that is characteristic of acute pancreatitis pain. So sometimes what happens in acute hemorrhagic pancreatitis is that there is hemorrhage, and that gets released into the peritoneum, and that stains the area around the umbilicus or around the flank. So this one is known as Cullen sign. Once the acute hemorrhagic, so one should remember, it is only seen in hemorrhagic pancreatitis or in retroperitoneal hemorrhage. Once it stains the abdominal wall in the umbilicus, there will be bluish discoloration here, then this is known as Cullen sign. And once it stains the flank region, then it is known as Gray Turner sign. So Cullen sign and Gray Turner sign. Cullen sign and Gray Turner sign. It is seen in acute hemorrhagic pancreatitis as well as retroperitoneal hemorrhage.